Listen up, people. We have a big favor to ask, and we promise it won't take up too much of your time. You know, our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to ESPNpodcaststudy.com and fill out a short, anonymous survey. That's it. We swear, again, that's ESPNpodcaststudy.com.
This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Happy 77th birthday to Marv Albert.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
77. That sounds older than I thought Marv Albert was. This has happened to me lately. Clint Eastwood being 88 and Gene Hackman being 88. Gene Hackman being 88 jarred me. And then Clint Eastwood being the age of Gene Hackman jarred me.
Crazy.
I mean,
Paul McCartney is 75.
So
What's happening?
That's Greg Cote of the Miami Herald. We've got a lot to get into today, okay? Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is Nicki Minaj trying to do a Sammy Sosa? Mike, what do you think of the idea? You know, I've constantly been frustrated by the way radio sales works. And at some point, there's going to be a giant feud between our show and radio sales. Because the creativity can be lacking sometimes. And I'm just wondering, why isn't Stugotz already a NASCAR? Like, why isn't Stugotz with advertising all over him every day instead of just doing advertising for his lacrosse teams? Why isn't he in a race car suit wearing advertising on everything?
We're actually trying to get that for the Reaper this year. I said, I'm cool just making the Reaper a NASCAR. Put whatever you want on the Reaper.
Yep. I've offered it up, Dan. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'll wear anything.
Well, when do we start feuding with sales? When do we start feuding with sales?
You shouldn't be doing that, especially since radio is an audio medium and what you're going for there is a visual gag. There are layers to these things.
I know, but we are a radio show that they've decided to put on television.
Right.
Right, but it's a complicated sell.
Is it, though?
Yeah, you'd have to just sell a visual component.
Well, I think it's an enhancement to whatever it is you're selling, you know?
It's also product placement. It's a place right now where we're not making anything, so we can probably do better than that.
Right. Like what happened here was I went to school at Clark University, and they finally they came around, 10 years too late. I don't mind saying myself, but they finally sent me some stuff to wear because they saw me wearing Duke lacrosse stuff. And they said, hey, you didn't play at Duke, you played at Clark University. And I said, hey, I've been trying to do stuff with my university for over a decade and no one's ever reached out. So the head coach at Clark University finally came to his senses. I'm top 5 in all the major categories, still number 1 in points in a game. And he finally sent me some gear to wear to promote Clark University lacrosse, which I'm very proud to wear. But I'd be willing to wear anything for any sponsor at any time, and I'm willing to dress up like a NASCAR. So let's get it done, and I'm with you. You want a feud with sales? I got your back, man.
All right, well, we might have to do that at some future date. We are, as has been proven over time, more roar than reach. But there is money to be made here, and Stugotz will figure out a way to make it. I want to get into Dennis Rodman. It's unbelievable, but he is our greatest historian. I'm not making it up. Dennis Rodman is an ambassador, a peacemaker. He is a man who changed the world. I didn't think that he would be the most politically strong athlete to come from that Bulls team. But here we are. And before we get to that, though, I want to understand changing journalism rules because Cody and I come from a different time. And it was a time when newspapers had to check facts and be more diligent and more lawyered up than your average radio show or even television show. There had to be more care put into making sure that things are right. Now we've arrived at an age where, fake media, you don't know what's real anymore. And ESPN has just sent out a do not report. And this is part of the changing landscape. People are talking about this on the internet, but ESPN is saying don't talk about this thing. And it's because ESPN hasn't confirmed it. And one of the participants involved says it's not true, says that something is being said by a famous person that is not true. And so it's been checked. And upon being checked, it's proven to be not true. However, this is LeBron gossip season. And anyone saying anything about LeBron, if Floyd Mayweather tells Marcellus Wiley, hey, I'm fighting Conor McGregor soon, and Marcellus Wiley is the first person to report that, I'm good with just putting that on Marcellus Wiley. And in this particular case, I don't understand why this is a do not report. Why don't we just put this, and I'm not saying what it is, but why don't we just put this on Gary Payton and then walk away? Like, it's not ESPN reporting anything other than Gary Payton said something and it was denied. Now you can go figure it out for yourself on the internet, but I'm saying, why are we giving all of those eyeballs away? Why are we allowing the internet to do it first? Because we don't want to put on Gary Payton something that people are going to be talking about today, because the next 6 weeks are all going to be LeBron crud.
What's your best guess on that? I mean, it seems...
I don't get it. I don't understand. I think it's from a different journalistic time. Nobody cares who reports it anymore. Just put it on others, and it allows it to be a shield, no matter how wrong it is.
Yeah, it's a talking point. Whether it's accurate or not, whether somebody's denying something or not, it's still worth talking about, particularly because we're in the season now with LeBron where everything is tarot cards and tea leaves. We're all reading hints.
But why are we pretending that this is real reporting any of this on LeBron? All of us guess all the time. There's all sorts of rumors. You got cupcake factories saying this. You've got this restaurant owner overheard something over here. I'm hearing, the things that you hear are crazy. That LeBron can make a play for ownership in Cleveland. Right. If Dan Gilbert wants to sell the team, there are a whole lot of people saying a whole lot of stuff. We don't know what the hell is true. There's one person who knows what's true.
By the way, how many times are we going to laugh at the cupcake store for breaking stories before we take them seriously? That's what I mean. I'm serious. Who knows who's right?
We got a Shaq trade one time. Shaq was being traded. It came from a guy that we just simply referred to as the guy in the Dare t-shirt.
I mean, I understand where ESPN's coming from, not necessarily with this story.
I was reporting on the Big Three in Miami from a concierge in a restaurant. A concierge in a restaurant where we're talking about Bosch and LeBron and Wade coming together.
I think LeBron Watch stuff should all be fair game. However, ESPN does have its journalism rules, and hey, we ran into this a couple weeks ago, and thankfully there was a DNR on that Johnny Manziel TMZ story, because we would have sounded like dopes because that got vetted, and it was actually not what it appeared initially.
I know, but it could be TMZ reporting it without it being on us. That's TMZ's fault.
But Mike, in this case, there's a former superstar who said something.
Hang on, though. But you put it on the other entity, but that doesn't stop you from speculating. And then everything that you say in terms of speculation, that's a reflection on not only you, but this company. So it's not just as easy as just put it on Gary Payton, because you have to be held accountable for what you say with a story that they don't want you getting into.
But what is the reflection on me is why are we pretending that anything happening around LeBron is journalism and needs to be treated with journalism ethics when ESPN televised that interview and set it up with Jim Gray and gave money to charity when he went and became unpopular? Like, we're going to keep pretending that this is 100% pure journalism when we're dabbling in the dark arts all the time?
Oh, I am totally with you on the LeBron stuff. I think there should be some sort of major corporate loophole when it comes to LeBron, because this is Twitter season, man. This is mobile alert season. This is putting together clues such as Snapchat filters and geolocations on your tweets.
All it is a whodunit, man. Mm-hmm. It's the Midnight Express. It's it's what's that game with the butler and the candlestick?
Clue, Dan.
Yeah, it's all that crap, right? Is it or is it not? That's what we're doing for 6 weeks when there's nothing else going on in sports. We're tracking tea leaves. Bleeping George Sedano, you remember he was outside of LeBron's house and there were moving trucks. George Sedano was going for ice cream nearby and there were moving trucks near his house and he called it in.
'Tis the season, man. I'm with you. I mean, we need this to feel like the wild, wild west. Even here at ESPN, we just do. I have LeBron going to Oklahoma City.
It doesn't need to be a do not report. It should be report all the time, because it's what we're always doing with LeBron. Someone said something in the Instagram comments about LeBron, and it may have been Stephen A. Smith. He was in Kobe's the other day.
Just in the last 4 months alone, LeBron's enrolled his kids in 3 different schools. It's absurd.
He can afford it. He can afford to pay the waiver fee.
But the thing is, all these schools deny, and it never ends up being true, and we're just running with it, but it's fun to run with it, and it's content, and might I remind everybody, that was a 4-game sweep, and it's June, and we need stuff to talk about, because we're not talking World Cup here.
All right, what we are talking, though, in the next segment is Dennis Rodman political ambassador of our time, predictor of all time. The sound we're going to play for you of Dennis Rodman, global goodwill ambassador Dennis Rodman, is coming up next.
Dan Le Batard.
Greg Cote of the Miami Herald has announced that we are the biggest and best radio show in America on Tuesdays.
Stugotz.
You're welcome.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
If you didn't know the reference I was making earlier, Jorge Sedano sent me this, and I love that it's something that's so... Kobe Bryant went on Twitter and wrote, "We had to face the Spurs every postseason pretty much, not to mention the first super team in Boston. But hey, what do I know?" So Kobe Bryant is out there defending his team and the idea that he's better than LeBron. And then there are 1,600 comments after that, one of them left by Stephen A. Smith, who gets in there and says, "Mr. Salinas, I'm not about to be as nice as Kobe here. You don't know what the hell you're talking about." And it goes on. Kobe, who won 3 rings with Shaq, 2 more with gasoline. I guess Gasol got changed to gasoline on the iPhone. Gasoline.
Happens when you emotionally tweet, man.
I just love that. I love that Stephen A. Smith is in the comment section, just giving his opinion on Kobe Bryant. That's just magical, but not as magical as what we're about to do right now. Greg Cote of the Miami Herald is in with us. He's not the magical part. A texter writes in, "Hey, Dan, are you talking politics today? Because what happened with North Korea yesterday was remarkable. I'm pretty sure if Obama or some Democrat president did the same thing, you would be praising him. You will think I'm some redneck, but I'm not. When it comes to a lot of social issues, I hold a liberal view." Well, here's the view I hold, sir. The view I hold is this is all unbelievably funny as anything you can find around nuclear arms. It's the funniest thing in the history of nuclear arms, all of it. It involves Dennis Rodman, a reality TV star, and the most powerful man in North Korea, who's physically uproarious and powerfully uproarious. Rocket Man, as Trump was calling him recently, but not that recently. Little Rocket Man. Mm-hmm. So
that's to not get him confused with Elton John.
Right. We have the other Little Rocket Man. So we've been covering this story better than anybody at ESPN for a long time. We have talked to the makers of the documentary of Dennis Rodman taking a bunch of really confused NBA players who needed money over to North Korea. They all regret that terribly.
I think they're all on record as saying so. Yes, you're right.
All of them filled with enormous regret. But we've been covering this story. So there was much controversy the first time Dennis Rodman went to North Korea, where he's treated like a hero and gets really drunk.
That was the trip before he was sponsored by Potcoin, right?
I don't remember. He's done so many ambassador trips over there. Hostage releases.
What a statesman.
Well, Dennis Rodman, for those of you who don't know, and I imagine in the audience, I can't even explain how the hell Dennis Rodman was on the greatest basketball team that anybody had ever seen. And he was not the biggest star because Michael Jordan was the biggest star, but he was the most cartoonish star. He had a lot more fame than Scottie Pippen or any of the other players on the team. He had a lot more fame than anybody on the Warriors now. Anybody.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like anybody who plays for the Warriors now pales in fame comparison to the guy who, helped create the reality TV fad that then, birthed the president of the United States. Like Rodman was there before on the reality TV shows. He was okay on the right side of history with gay people because he was in gay bars, and it was a shocking thing that he would go to gay bars. It was a shocking thing that he would sign his bestseller dressed in a wedding dress, dressed in drag. I just saw a really funny race the other day, by the way. You guys got to get the high school race. Like I can't do anything. The two transgender dudes were just crushing the women, running against the women. And you're watching that and you're like, 2 transgender women, are running against the women. And the whole thing is just confusing because they're a lot faster.
Yeah, it's crazy. That happened in Texas with high school wrestling.
It's all very confusing. What's been normalized makes that confusing. But beyond that, I digress.
Dangerously.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman.
This segment's confusing.
Dennis Rodman was on CNN And the interview we played, this was years ago. Now, he ends up being right about everything. But listen to Dennis Rodman, because it's one of the most uproarious things we've ever heard around here. This is Dennis Rodman on CNN trying to do a legitimate interview on international politics.
Let me do this. Really, I'm going to tell you one thing. People around the world, I'm going to do one thing. You guy behind the mic right now, we are the guys here doing one thing. We have to go back to America and take the abuse. Do you have to take the abuse? Well, we're going to take it. Do you, sir? Let me know. Are you going to take the abuse? We're going to get it. But guess what, Joe? One day, this door is going to open.
And it's open. It's unbelievable. We've been laughing at that sound for 5 years. This guy, we should have been listening to him. He would have told us Trump was going to get elected.
Yep. Nostradamus.
While the rest of the media was getting it wrong. Donald Trump, Dennis Rodman foretold all of this. Now, I understand that you didn't understand anything he said before that, but he did say one day a door was going to open, and that door opened yesterday. Pushed open by Dennis Rodman. Billy, have you gotten cleared the sound, the new Dennis Rodman sound as he returns to CNN? Did he do a victory lap, or what was the sound?
We have 4 clips. They're not cleared yet. One of them was him saying that the president's secretary reached out to him and said the president is proud of him and thanked him. Another sound is the former director of national intelligence or something saying Dennis Rodman should be involved in these negotiations. Yeah. And then there's very emotional Dennis Rodman, who doesn't want to take the credit for it. He thinks we should all take the credit for it.
But he was crying, right? How great was that?
I feel for him, man. He went through some stuff.
To open that door, he went through some stuff.
Yeah. You know what? He honestly did, and everyone likes to jump on Dennis Rodman, and I totally get it because he's wearing a shirt that says Podcoin on it. Okay, but does this happen without Dennis Rodman? I'm being serious.
This is what needs to be put on the poll, and it needs to be 100%. It needs to be our first 100% poll. Did Dennis Rodman help us avert nuclear war? Put that on the poll.
One of the clips says that Dennis Rodman gave Kim Jong-un's people in New York Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. They took it to him. He read it, and that may have led to this meeting.
Not may have, friend. Not may have. Dennis Rodman's going to be Time Man of the Year.
All I want to do is say zoom, 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 and a boom, boom.
Nobel Peace Prize.
He should win it, yes. Do you think he'll be in the history books?
Now? Yes. Yeah. He was just a sports star before. Then he became a transcendent reality star. Now he's a global international figure, misunderstood in trying times on the right side of history. He's going to be something between MLK and Jesus.
I want people to check out that video, the first video, the clip that we just played, because the other NBA stars that are with him, they are, just
mortified,
how uncomfortable they are.
Terrified.
Sag.
Kenny Anderson and Glenn Robinson were terrified. So was Charles Smith, I think, went too.
Big mistake, right? I bet you they regret that now because Rodman's a genius.
The Capital One, you should have stuck by Rodman. He's going to be president in 2020.
Dan Batard.
Greg, are you going to say anything? Or are you just going to sit there checking the internet?
When I have something to say, I say it. What I was thinking of as you said that was that I think Black History Month is also split into 2 half months, which is terrible.
That's not true.
It's the first half and the second half of February.
There you go.
Right.
Stugotz.
No, it's February into March, isn't it?
It's February.
No, it's
Hang on.
Good contribution, though, when you decided to talk. That was good.
History Month.
Yeah, you're... Greg.
I'm like a dog with a bone on this. I'm wrong. Okay.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz also has breaking Tiger Woods news. Who is reporting this, Stugotz?
This is according to Neil Best on Twitter. Just ran into Tiger Woods as he finished his practice round. Look focused. Thanks, Neil.
All right. So that's a good report.
It is a good report.
Good to know that.
Listen, I know that creature well because I am that creature. Really, all that tweet is, I ran into Tiger Woods. Didn't say anything to him, but I just saw Tiger Woods, and he looks focused. The news would be if Tiger didn't look focused. Correct?
I don't think either of them. I don't think how Neil Best interpreted Tiger Woods' look is news in any way.
Just ran into Tiger Woods staggering with bloodshot eyes.
Okay, there you go. Maybe that would be closer to news than what he did, which is looks focused. But this is we're not in a position to make fun of anyone around here because let me let you have a glimpse into our workforce. All right. I just asked Guillermo, all right, while Stugotz was reading, this is, the degree of difficulty for Stugotz on reading is very high. Mm-hmm. I'm talking to Guillermo through the talkback when Stugotz is reading. It's distracting. This needs to be an efficient conversation. This is how that conversation goes. Billy, how is this Kevin Durant sound on Jimmy Kimmel? Billy stares at me and says, which one? Now, what I'm asking about is the highlighted one at the top of the page.
Right.
But he feels the need to ask me which one. So now I've got to read through everything, find through all the other highlighted garbage, I've got to find where the other Kevin Durant sound is. And then I look up and say, the first one, Billy, the one that's highlighted here by you. And his response is, it's fine, which could have been the answer to either of the sounds. Like, it was not helpful in any way. All $2, get out of here.
What?
Get out of here.
So it's a combo now for him because I feel like this is a new precedent. The last couple of times it's been 2 minutes and $2.
Billy likes to make you work for answers, man.
Cody, before
Yes,
we get
sir.
back, before we get back to Dennis Rodman, hold on, let me read this text.
Oh no,
I don't want to be that guy, but the show seems to find a lot more fun in North Korea than Cuba.
He's that guy.
We'll get to Dennis Rodman in North Korea in a second. But Cody wants to talk about this high school pitcher from Minnesota. Did you see this video?
no.
Yeah, it was a high school playoff game, and the winning pitcher struck out a guy to end the game for a big win on a called third strike. The batter he struck out happened to be his best lifelong friend. And so as the pitcher's teammates are all pogoing and celebrating on the pitcher's mound, the pitcher trots to home plate and embraces the lifelong friend that he had just struck out. And it's really resonated and gone viral because it's just one of the most heartwarming small displays of sportsmanship. It was terrific.
You will be moved by it, Stugotz. You, the guy who gets goosebumps with this stuff. The pitcher is striking out his friend. Oh, Mike Ryan is predicting he won't be. Mike Ryan is predicting Stugotz. Stugotz gets Stugotz is the one.
I love stuff like
welling
that,
up during Rudy. Mike, I think you might be making a misread here.
I think Stugotz is going to have the opposite reaction. And be curious. We can watch him together as he watches the video.
Okay, we've described it for him. So.
Yeah, I mean, he is also at the heart of what Stugotz is he's also old school competitor fan, celebrate your championship.
All right, well, let's see what we've got here.
No participation trophies.
All right, so here we go. Hold on. We'll watch in real time. You want to do play-by-play when the commercial stops playing there?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay, you tell me when you're ready to do play-by-play, and we will all gauge your reaction here. For those of you who do not know, can you turn that computer to me a little bit so I can see when it's starting? For those of you who do not know, it's a big game, state championship.
All right, the pitch has been made. There's the walk.
Oh, that's not a great angle. I don't love this camera angle. This is not the one that I saw, and it makes it less good because the catcher was trying to meet up with the pitcher. Let's find Stugotz the better camera angle from behind home plate because it matters. Because his catcher goes and runs to the pitcher to hug him, and the pitcher moves him out of the way in a way that confuses the catcher because he's going to console his friend at home plate by hugging him.
All right, I'm getting there. Hopefully this is the right angle. You know what? I'm thinking about, now I have to see it, okay? So the jury's still out, but I think I'm going to side with Mike Ryan here. Like, it seems like a ridiculous thing to do. I'm all for consoling the friend, but you got to embrace your teammates first. You got to. I mean, those are the guys you won with, and then take care of your friend later. I mean, what a joke. I haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay, wait a minute. So you formed your opinion. And
well, I said I think.
No, clearly.
I'm just telling you that's one possible opinion.
But the jury's been contaminated. I don't even want to do it anymore.
I texted you a better angle, Stugotz.
All right, okay. I'm going to read some text here while you get ready. Texture writes in because we're making fun of this Dennis Rodman thing, which is, it's objectively funny. A texter is writing in, and this is what you always get around this stuff. It's why we do so little politics around here. Guy is telling me to leave the country because that's the move, right? You don't have to, you don't have to live here, Le Batard. Forgive me, the text machine continues. You mock our president, you mock the White House. Why do you continue to stay in the U.S. and reap all of the rewards and play the race card every chance you get? Look in the mirror. The racist bigot is you. I mean, I can't find Dennis Rodman. I don't care about the politics of this. I care about the Dennis Rodman of this.
It's patently hilarious, the idea that he would be in a statesman role. It just doesn't get any better than that.
It is a fair criticism from Love It or Leave It guy, who's my favorite person, as if they've never disagreed with anything going on in this country. And keep in mind, we've had several election cycles where people on both sides have had things to say about each other. But I do think it is a fair point, because I do think you'd be approaching Dennis Rodman a little bit differently if you went to Cuba. But I do still think you'd find the funny in it being Dennis Rodman.
I mean, I think so. I'd like to think so. Now, maybe I'm not. Maybe I've got my blind spots. But again, it's like J.R. Smith forgetting the score. Like, all bets are off. We're allowed to laugh at this.
Sure.
And it'll be the most memorable thing from the finals. It's like, I'm allowed to laugh. Mike, play that sound again. You're going to tell me that I wouldn't have found this funny if Dennis Rodman were saying this about Cuba?
Let me do this. Really, I'm going to tell you one thing. People around the world, I'm going to do one thing. You guy behind the mic right now, we are the guys here doing one thing. We have to go back to America and take the abuse. Do you have to take the abuse? Well, we're going to take it. Do you, sir? Let me know. Are you going to take the abuse? We're going to get it. But guess what, though? One day, this door's going to open.
I have the play-by-play here. I have the video.
All right, let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right, 2 strikes. Minnesota going for a state championship, their first state championship in school history. Here we go. Pitching against his best friend. Wow, what a tough spot this is. Here's the pitch. It's a strike, and they win their first state championship ever. Players coming off the bench. The pitcher is not celebrating with the players. He bypasses the catcher to console his best friend at home plate. They're hugging. They are hugging. There's a hug going on. It is long. They're embracing. They are hugging. And now he's carrying him off the field while his entire team is celebrating on the pitcher's mound. Some say it's sportsmanship. I say it's the single weakest thing I've ever seen in the history of competition.
Very good.
More money, more problems.
Advance Auto Parts, Stugotz. Tell people about Advance Auto Parts. If the car breaks down, they need some help. Advance Auto Parts is what'll fix it. Tell them.
I mean, the pitcher making it all about himself there, huh? How about that?
Catch more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person.
Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Dan Le Batard.
And finally, the shortest, most concise tongue twister is toy boat. Try saying that 5 times fast. Toy boat, toy boy, toy boy, toy boat, toy boat.
He came closer than I did. Toy boy, toy boy, toy boy, toy boy, toy boy.
Stugotz.
Everybody, let's go around the room. Chris, what do you got? What do you got? Give us 5 straight toy boats. Say it as fast as you can.
Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat, toy boat.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Commercial insurance through Progressive protects your business and your dream. Choose from over 30 coverage options at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Deontay Wilder? I don't know what happened there. And Anthony Joshua, reading happened, have agreed to terms in what could be the biggest heavyweight title fight in years. How about that? Cowboys D lineman Randy Gregory who has been suspended the last 30 of 32 games, will meet with the NFL regarding his reinstatement. Good luck. And finally, Ryan Reynolds is attached to star in Sam Raimi's first film in 6 years called The Bermuda Triangle. Here's an early synopsis. When a massive submarine carrying a nuclear weapon goes missing in the Bermuda Triangle, a commander enlists the help of a theoretical physicist who, while using his grandfather's research, opens a wormhole to reveal a mysterious island that is inhibited by anything lost in the triangle, including sharks, Vikings, and Nazis. Reynolds must travel to the island in the hopes of finding the nuclear weapons. A lot of tough words in there. You guys knew that. That's why you put that story in there. But I'm going to see that movie. I can't pronounce it, but I'm going to go see it. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
That fight is a monster. That's the biggest fight in boxing in a long time. Like, not that freak show with Floyd and Conor McGregor.
Whoa.
If you care about boxing, that's the big boys, and both of them look insurmountable. And I don't know what happened to boxing exactly, but that's the fight everybody wants. I mean, people have been trying to make Broner something that he's not in lower weight classes. Like, we don't have any transcendent stars. A giant dude who's menacing. Like, these are the two dudes.
All right. I'll take Mayweather-McGregor, too, over this, but...
No.
Oh, yes, I would.
Really? Oh, remember how fun that was?
Oh, it was the best.
Oh, man.
I mean, the best.
Yeah.
Connor almost won. Amazing. Yeah.
So fun.
Oh, it's great. Man. You remember that, like that second or third round? You thought Connor had him.
No, he had a
shot. He had a puncher's chance.
He put the hands behind the back.
A real chance.
Someone signed up for something. They had no idea.
That move. Yeah, that was a fight, man.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Good fight.
What fight were you talking about?
I have no idea who these guys are.
Can everyone want a fight that no one's ever heard of?
Yeah. Can it be a big fight if you've never heard of the fighters?
To me, everything that's happening there is perfect for where it is that boxing is and why Conor McGregor and Floyd can make so much money, because it's style over substance. It's do you sell your fight with name. Anybody who knows anything about boxing knows that these are the two fighters that you want to see fight, because you can have your opinions about who's going to win, but both of them have just been annihilating everybody.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. If Wilder and Joshua announce a fight date, and then several weeks later, a fight between Vin Diesel and Dwayne The Rock Johnson is announced for the same weekend.
Yep.
How quickly do Wilder and Joshua move their date?
Wait a second. You have The Rock and Vin Diesel?
Yeah. It's a pay-per-view fight.
Yep.
And they don't like each other either, right?
Yeah.
Rock's going to win that one.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
No, I think Vin Diesel wins that.
Vin Diesel's
puncher's chance for Vin. Yeah, no doubt.
Chance. No way.
Vin Diesel is a legit tough guy.
No, Vin Diesel's all bark and no bite.
Yeah.
Didn't hear that from me.
Mm-hmm.
Does Vin Diesel strike you guys as menacing? I don't feel.
No.
I feel like
it's all marketing with him. It's
exactly.
all marketing.
Yep.
It's not menacing. Come on, man. The Rock went to this
dramatic.
Well, I also saw Vin Diesel shirtless on a balcony here on South Beach. Isn't that a famous internet photo?
It is, but its validity has been called into question, because then there were photos of him 2 weeks later, and he either cycled or the original photo was in dispute.
Wow. Vin Diesel's sneaky talented. You've heard him sing.
Do you have some song there from Vin Diesel? Vin Diesel seems to be the Mario Chalmers of singers. He thinks he's very good. He thinks he's a lot better than he actually is. Vin Diesel as a singer. The idea of Vin Diesel as menacing is a bit confusing to me, though.
Yeah.
It's name value, Dan. That's all it is. It's name value.
He's just brown and bald.
And who's to say Dwayne Rock Johnson is menacing? I mean, the guy's probably got a glass jaw. Well, this guy doesn't know how to punch.
You guys are focused on the wrong thing. This is name value to sell fights, to create interest, and people would be infinitely more interested in Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson than they would be in this fight.
Guillermo, put it on the Lebitard. Put it on the Lebitard show account. Is it possible for any choir anywhere to ruin Oh Happy Day?
Oh Happy Day.
I mean, he ruined it. Choirs are delightful. They're universally by consensus delightful. Put that on the poll as well, Guillermo. Are choirs delightful?
Oh, happy Day.
How how is this person considered menacing? Is it because he occasionally wins against, oracles and mystics in those movie fights? Who's he fighting now? It's always a dragon.
Wow, Vin Diesel's 50.
He's turning 51.
That's what I'm saying. He's not allowed to be.
Oh, but he can.
He looks great.
Yeah, old. He's a young 50. Yeah.
He is a young 50.
Happy day.
He's very pleased by that compliment. Whenever you compliment Vin Diesel, he just sings this song in his head. You're so handsome, Vin Diesel. You're so bald. You look so much better than you did in that photo on the balcony that everyone saw you shirtless in. Cleaned up nice after a couple of weeks. Love your Furious movies. Love the way you fight dragons. Anything else you'd like to say to Vin Diesel to make him feel good about himself?
Boiler Room, fantastic.
It really was. It really was.
Come on, Dan. You'd rather see that fight.
Oh, you would be front row in that fight. It would get blown up.
You guys managed in this segment to ruin not only a great boxing fight, but both the choir and just generally song. That you managed to ruin all of that. I don't know how you did it, but I salute you. Congratulations. Like, that is a good fight that boxing fans are legitimately excited about. And I just want to recap for the audience that you guys said, yeah, but I'd rather watch Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson fight. Okay, very good.
Don Le Batard.
I come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. But then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude oil, that is. Black gold, Texas tea.
Stugotz.
Oh, well, the next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, get away from there. Said California is the place you ought to be, so they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is.
Yeah.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
This is a conversation that just happened here in the studio. Greg Cote, you may hear his cough in the background. He's still coughing, though it's better after some pharmaceuticals than it was last week. We had a lot of fun at his expense last week with an assortment of songs and remixes because his cough was so annoying and so ever-present.
I'm fine.
All right, so listen to this sound. Mike, play again the worst of those sounds. No, that's not the one I wanted. The other one, the worst. All right, so this is the conversation we just had because Cody's still coughing a little bit, and I'm like, the cough seems to have gotten better though. It's good.
I'm fine.
And then my next question was, you stopped smoking cigars as much as you were, and his response was, no, I'm still smoking just as many, maybe more.
Just being honest.
And this is not the funny part. The funny part is, lest you think that Stugotz is something different off air than he is on air, Stugotz's response to this, as you know, I'm telling Cody that he probably shouldn't be smoking cigars in his garage, plural, through a lot of coughing and multiple prescriptions. Stugotz says, just like this, and I'm not making it up, just like this. Listen, man, if you have something, you have something.
Yeah. I mean, if you have something, you have something. Listen, Greg Cote loves a good cigar. And if Greg Cote has something serious, something terminal, we all hope he does it, obviously. But if he does,
this is where he was going with the conversation.
Hey, you might as well go out doing the things you enjoy.
No, but see, this is what that is. Thank you. This is something that Stugotz actually said during the break. That's how he decided to have the conversation about mortality.
Apparently, he doesn't love his grandchild.
Oof.
Oh, wow.
I love nothing. I love nothing on earth more than I love my grandbaby.
Listen, man, if you have something, you have something. Thanks for nothing, Stugotz.
I appreciate his support.
Yeah, I'm just
That's support?
Yeah, man.
He's a grown man. If he wants to have more cigars than ever while he's got a serious chest illness, then go ahead.
All right, Cote and Stugotz were also wasting some of their best material off air in regards to Draymond Green. They've got a little something for Draymond Green here. Stugotz and Cote were both, they're tired of Draymond Green, and they're tired of what Draymond Green is saying.
Well, Chris Haynes, who's an excellent reporter here at ESPN, he wrote an article on ESPN.com about how much Draymond Green has sacrificed to build the Warriors dynasty. Here's the thing. I get that he sacrificed. I get that he took less money. Fans don't want to hear after you made $82 million that you took $12 million less because you wanted Kevin Durant on the team. You wanted Kevin Durant on the team. I'm cool with making a sacrifice. Where I draw the line is don't talk about the sacrifice. Make the sacrifice and shut up about the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. I totally, there's no sacrifice involved in sports. Let's be honest. Financial or otherwise, very little sacrifices involved in sports. Grown men playing games for a living is what it always distills to. When you think of sacrifice, you think of, you know, people joining the army and fighting in Iraq. You don't think of somebody in sports.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. But generally speaking, if you've lost a leg, you're not looking at another guy who's lost a leg and a toe and saying, well, everything's fine because somebody's got it worse than me. Let's read from this story, which I don't think either one of you have done.
I just read that he sacrificed it. I don't care. Why would I read a story about a guy making a sacrifice of $12 million?
Because the details I'm going to give you, I think you're going to find interesting.
Okay.
But if you don't bother to read the story and just go to your formed opinions on everything, you'll always land in the place where you have for 15 years of that's not a sacrifice unless I'm the one making it. Because I assure you, we'd be hearing about it if you'd made a sacrifice of $12 million. I assure you.
If I made $82 million, I took 12 less.
I assure you we'd be hearing about your $12 million
You wouldn't hear about it. I'd never take $12 million less. So,
all right. So here are the details in this story because this is the part I found interesting. Yes, he could have had about $96 million and instead he took about 82. So yes, of course, when we're in that stratosphere, that's top 1% of the top 1%. None of us understand what that kind of money is like. But he's a second-round pick. Almost every second-round pick cashes in the first time the gold is ready. And what Chris Hayes is reporting of ESPN is that Draymond Green made a decision a year before Kevin Durant's free agency, deciding to leave the amount of money after they'd won a championship and were going toward their second.
Right.
To leave an amount of money that would allow for the getting of Kevin Durant. And his quotes are to the effect of, that $12 million after taxes becomes like $6 million. He's like, that doesn't change my neighborhood. Winning championships can change my neighborhood. I can have the power to use, not the money, the power through my name and through championships and through always being on the stage. This is the quote. I think my max was $96 million. The money is not changing my neighborhood. It's probably $6 million after taxes and fees. It's not changing my neighborhood, but championships can. Championships can change my life. BJ Armstrong is so used to, the agent for Draymond Green is so used to guys wanting the cash that he kept calling Draymond back and saying, are you sure you want to do this for a year from now when Kevin Durant might consider going to Golden State? You want to do this. Like, that's a legitimate sacrifice, man. I don't care what any of you say. And furthermore, that the sacrifice pays off and will result in him getting something more valuable to him than money. I feel like that's something that should be embraced and celebrated as opposed to being jealous of the guy because he makes more money than you do.
I'm not jealous of the guy. I just don't want to hear about it. I mean, I don't want to hear from the guy who made $82 million how he sacrificed. He wanted Kevin Durant there because they couldn't beat LeBron James. They couldn't do it. No, they couldn't. Right after the NBA Finals where they lost to LeBron James, Draymond Green recruited Kevin Durant.
They'd already beaten him.
That was 2 years ago. Then LeBron came back. He won it. And then Draymond Green, he recruited Kevin. He wanted it.
But he agreed to the extension before they lost to LeBron. They'd already beaten LeBron.
He knew it was coming. How about that? That is Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks.
Nobody wants to hear the word sacrifice coming from a guy making $82 million. But I will say this, had he insisted on the $96 million, people would have called him greedy.
That's right. That's the position he exists in. If they didn't get Durant, look at Stugotz raising his hand. That's right.
I would have.
That's right. Stugotz would have called him greedy. Stugotz takes the every position. You're not allowed to have any position. Stugotz has them all. John Frankel is next.
Dan Le Batard.
I love me some doctors. Have a lot of respect for the medical profession.
Stugotz.
Except chiropractors.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz warned me. He warned me he was going to be pooping and it was going to take a while. So I have to do this. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And now your SportsCenter update. Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua have agreed to terms in what could be the biggest heavyweight title fight in years. Cowboys defensive lineman Randy Gregory, suspended the last 30 of 32 games, will meet with the NFL regarding his reinstatement. And finally, Kim Jong-un traveled to the Singapore summit in an IL-76 transport plane that was carrying food, a bulletproof limousine, and a portable toilet that will deny determined sewer divers insights into the supreme leader's stool.
It's an important safeguard.
Guys, you know me. I like to be in the action.
Yep.
If you need tickets to the game or your favorite band, look no further than Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Vivid Seats has options to fit your needs. Make sure to get to vividseats.com/ESPN today for an exclusive discount offer. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on all of the ESPN gizmos.
You're good at that, man. Feel free to do it more often.
Everything okay? What did you do to that bathroom?
Whoa.
Because nobody can go into a bathroom after you around here. Woo. It's awful.
I had one of those episodes where my stomach is hurting. I had an episode where I went to the bathroom, got up, walked down the hallway, realized I wasn't done, and had to go back for part two.
Mm-hmm.
Part two.
Thank you, Stugotz. I appreciate it.
You got it. You asked. I mean, I'm just giving you an update. Stomach hurts, man. And I might have to go again. I'm just letting you know.
So, John Frankel, hashtag just saying. John Frankel has been doing a lot of good journalism for a long time, and Real Sports with Brian Gumbel has been doing a lot of good journalism for a long time. This segment that we're talking to him about is available now, anywhere HBO is available. And the whole thing was haunting. It had to be deeply uncomfortable for John Frankel to do this kind of reporting. So, John, thank you for joining us. Can you just tell us about what this felt like for you, walking in the lives of all of these broken football players broken by football and feeling like football has betrayed them?
It's a very difficult process for me personally, but I think probably for anybody who's covered enough football and gets to know people who have played the game, and you watch what they go through. And, yeah, there's a lot of fun, and there's some glory that goes with it, and certainly some fame and some riches in certain people's cases. But when you see what's left and the broken bodies, and you know some of those people personally, it becomes very difficult. And you watch them struggle, and you think that there should be a better way. And I don't know that this settlement and the way it's playing out is the best way. Not being an attorney, and I'm sure people with much greater minds and keener minds than mine have tried to work this out. But when you're left with where a lot of these players are, it seems to be that somebody's left holding the bag.
Can you tell us the personal way this story started for you?
Listen, we've been at HBO. We've been covering this story since it really started to become part of the dialogue. I think we contributed to it becoming part of the dialogue, and we did stories about various guys, including Steve Smith with the Raiders. But then we also did a piece with a guy named Kevin Turner, who captained Alabama's team and then played in the NFL for 8 years as a fullback with the New England Patriots and the Philadelphia Eagles. And I got very close with Kevin before he passed away from ALS 2 years ago. And, when I saw how destructive it was, and Kevin would be the first one to say that he had made mistakes post-playing days financially, but as he learned more and more about what the consequences were, And if in fact the scientific connections are true, that became very difficult. And then subsequently, I've come across other guys. I went to Syracuse, and the guys that I knew on the team, and Chris Gedney, who was 6 years behind me at Syracuse, and we became friends after our respective days at Syracuse. But for those who don't know, Chris Gedney was an All-American tight end, played in the NFL, and about 3 months ago took his own life. He was fighting real demons and had a whole bunch of health issues, but was really struggling with his mind. There's another former teammate of mine who has also been diagnosed with ALS. And so, to watch these guys suffer is very difficult because I know them on a personal level.
Again, John's report is a strong one. Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. The segment is available now anywhere HBO is available.
John, what's the most heartbreaking thing you've seen covering this story?
I think when if I can relate it a little bit to my own experiences as we all age and we feel the pains of aging, I find it hard to watch these guys who were the elite of the elite, who were superior athletes. And it's not just, hey, I lost a step, so maybe I can't play the game
this part stayed with me too, John. Seeing these guys who were the height of their profession being broken old men, and you're sitting next to them and you're their age or older.
Yeah. And it's just, it really leaves you so from a physical level, you're like, oh my God, this is heartbreaking. But I'll tell you that, when we interviewed some of these guys, and and you ask a guy, hey, how old are you? And it was not said as a trap. It was a legitimate question. Hey, how old are you? And the guy says to you, I'm 50. And his wife turns to him and says, no, honey, you're 60. That is, as it would be with anybody. If you watched your own parents suffer from these diseases, and we all know people who didn't play football. But when you watch that and you experience that, your heart goes out to these guys.
John, you mentioned Chris Gedney. What were your last conversations with him like? And was there any sense that you could feel him slipping away toward what eventually ended his life?
Chris and I last had dinner with his wife and a few other people from Syracuse in December. So it was about 4 months before he took his life. We had exchanged a couple of texts. The thing that always stuck with me, and Chris and I didn't talk specifics. He wouldn't say, John, I'm really struggling with this, or I had a bad day today. He would say, I'm really scared for what's coming down. I don't know about my future, and I'm really uncertain, and I'm scared about it. And so he wasn't as revealing in the specifics of it and how he was tormented. But I think that, I've seen some footage of Chris in the last couple months of his life that was shared with me. And it's painful to watch and to see sort of how scrambled his mind was at times.
John, 5 years after the NFL agreed to pay more than 4,500 players a cut of $765 million, because I think a lot of people are going to be outraged here, 90% of those players are still waiting on their checks. Why?
Well, if you listen to Chris Seeger, who represented the players in this case, he would say, look, he'll acknowledge, he said, we got off to a rough start, and it wasn't perfect, and now we're gaining momentum, and there's a lot of money that's sort of in the pipeline ready to go out to players that they haven't received yet. If you listen to the NFL side of it, they say that there's a great deal of fraud that's taking place. And they're careful not to pin it specifically on the players. What they'll say is that it's lawyers and doctors who are in cahoots, and they're sort of seducing these players with the idea of a big payday. And so the lawyer will approach the player and say, hey, I can get you with a doctor that will diagnose you with X, Y, and Z. You'll receive a big payout. You'll get your share, and we'll take our little bit of this money. So, that's what you're hearing from the NFL side. And as Seeger would point out, rough start, but now things are beginning to kick into motion, and we're getting some rhythm here, and there's some fluidity to this whole situation.
Do you believe him? Because it didn't. You're not. You're a good journalist. You kept coming at him. Do you believe him?
It was a little hard because the NFL only issued a statement and wouldn't talk to us. In a sense, Seeger was. I put Seeger on the stand, and he was having to defend not only his position, but the other side. Do I believe him? I'm not sure. I think that, there's so many players who are obviously waiting to get money. And when you have guys that have been approved under other disability programs by the NFL and then are simply asked to submit the same paperwork, which they're eligible to do for settlement money, and they're being denied for the very same reason that they're already getting money from another fund, then you ask yourself, how is this possible? What's going on?
John,
So,
you're an even human being, as as represented by professional journalists on television. You seem PO'd. The motivation for some of this seemed like you were you're bothered. Passion that starts with being upset.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would say that I try not to be upset, but it's kind of hard when you think that you're getting spun, if that's a fair way to put it. When people don't want to cop to doing what they're doing. And, one of the things that we asked Chris Seeger about, for instance, is that there was this window there was this window in which if you had CTE and you died with CTE, that you had to have died between 2006 and 2015, okay? And if we go back to ground zero of this, if you will, Mike Webster was the first guy who was diagnosed with CTE and then died in 2002. So Mike Webster, and as I put to Chris Seeger, there may never have been an issue about CTE. There may never have been a class action lawsuit. There may never have been a settlement without Mike Webster. And yet, at the end of the day, Mike Webster's family hasn't seen a dime from this settlement. Not a dime.
Yeah.
And so you ask Chris Seeger, how does this happen? How do you not make sure that this guy and others who died around the same time get taken care of? And, you're sort of left spinning your wheels.
John, appreciate the honesty and appreciate your work for a long time. Thank you for being on with us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Catch more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
This is your bedroom. This is your bedroom with Blue Chew. Blue Chew uses the same active ingredients as in Viagra or Cialis, but now comes in chewable form. Chewable means better, cheaper, and works faster than pills. No in-person doctor visit, no waiting in line, no more awkwardness. 100% online at BlueChew.com, where your first order is free. Just pay $5 shipping. Use promo code DAN at BlueChew.com and restart the party.
Dan Le Batard.
Guillermo, you were here throughout the entirety of that. We talked to them for an hour. What did you think? You guys were listening. What did you guys think was the best thing in there?
Stugotz.
You weren't listening. Okay.
I mean,
good talking
so much
to you.
going on.
Okay, good talking to you. You weren't listening. Excellent work by you again, as always, Guillermo. You brought it strong, as always.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Ron McGill will take your calls for the next 10 minutes. He is our animal expert. He is from Zoo Miami. We love him. And we have him on every week. 786-456-4837 is the telephone number if you want to talk to him. The Raptors have hired a new coach. They've promoted Nick Nurse.
Oh.
What do you think? This joke? This isn't going to work, is it? After what LeBron did to them, what they need is a nurse.
Oh, wow.
All right, well, I'm sorry. I got caught up in the air.
You thought there was a chance
I got caught up in the air. Taylor, you're on with Ron McGill. Go ahead, Taylor.
Hey, Ron, I wanted to know what you thought about the recent alligator attack in South Florida, and if you think that every body of water is dangerous and, you shouldn't even walk near them. Thank you. In Florida.
Well, it's obviously a tragedy, but it's a very rare one. Let's put this in perspective. There are millions of alligators living in the state. Unfortunately, and it gets a lot of attention, so people start to panic. The reality is that, yes, there are a lot of freshwater bodies in the state of Florida, and every one of them has the potential to have an alligator, and you should assume there's an alligator in every one of them. Having said that, if you just take caution, you shouldn't be walking small pets or small children around the banks of these bodies of water. These alligators are not smart enough to say, I'm going after humans, I'm going after anything specific. They're opportunistic feeders. My gut feeling with this incident was that this woman was walking her dog, that the alligator came out to get the dog, and when it got the dog initially, the woman, in an attempt to save her pet, unfortunately got killed herself. I know they found the dog with substantial injuries on it, which indicates to me that was the initial target of the attack, and that once the lady went in there to try to save her pet, the alligator just instinctively grabbed her and took her into the water, and that was it. A horrific tragedy, but again, let's put it in perspective, folks. It's a lot more dangerous to encounter a stray dog in the street, or even a hive of bees can be more dangerous to people than an isolated alligator incident. It's like shark bites. It's the same thing. Just keep it in perspective. Be smart. Do not walk around these areas at dusk and dawn. Realize the summer months are coming. The nesting season's coming up now. Alligators are most active at this time.
Ron, is there a way to survive an alligator attack? What should you do if you're confronted in that manner?
The bottom line is if an alligator comes after you, run straight away. You've heard all these things, run in the zigzag pattern. What a crock that is. You don't run in the zigzag pattern. Run straight away from the alligator, okay? If by chance the alligator gets a hold of you, your best chance is to assault it in the soft spots, sensitive spots. Those are the eyes and the tip of the snout. I would punch it as hard as you can on the tip of the snout. I know it sounds graphic, but take the thumbs and gouge them into the eyes. I know it's a lot easier to say in the sense that, once an alligator's got a grip on you, it's a huge panic situation. It takes a lot of presence of mind to think to do these things. But if you can, that's going to be
They're totally easy, though. Chris just did them in the back room. He just pantomimed. Chris just pantomimed hitting an eye, Larry Curly style, hitting the alligator in the eyes with his fingers, and then he did a karate chop of the alligator's nose. I'm curious, Ron. You've been bitten by either an alligator or a crocodile. So, and you had a pet that you loved. So, if your dog were in that situation, what the hell do you do? Like, what do you do? Do you, as the zoo guy, go for the eyes?
I don't know, Dan. It's hard to say, Yeah, it would be very difficult to watch my dog get preyed upon that way. But at the same time, my dog was a miniature schnauzer, and if alligator gets a miniature schnauzer, probably the injuries are going to be lethal anyway. I'd have it would be a horrific incident, but I don't know if I jeopardize my own life in that instance when the odds are that the dog's probably not going to survive anyway. And I do have a wife and kids, and, we got to put things in perspective here. I mean, it's going to be a horrific loss, but I don't think I'd risk my life because of my wife and kids, as hard as it would be for me to watch my dog die.
Dan, you love dogs. You have no wife. You have no kids. What would you do?
No, that alligator has to have lunch. Mike, you're on with Ron McGill. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Ron. Y'all seen those auto insurance commercials where they tell, the true story of, an auto insurance claim? And the one where these dudes are, on safari and the big cat, jumps on the hood, and the dudes are freaked out, so he pulls out the laser pointer and he scares off the cat with the laser pointer like you would a little cat. I want to know if you could actually do that. That's true. Could you use a laser pointer to get a big cat to play with it?
I believe you could. I mean, big cats are just that. They're just big cats. Cats are instinctive in all the things that they do. So a natural predator is going to look at something that needs to be chased and chase it. So I don't think that's a far-fetched thing. Whether it really happened or not is another thing. But I don't think it's far-fetched to think that you could take a pointer and get a big cat's attention to go after it.
What are we doing here? We're poking alligators in the eyes.
Right.
We got a laser pointer.
Furthermore, what I'm loving in the back room is, and Chris, please continue to do this for the remainder of the segment. I would like you in a box pantomiming all of the things that are being described here because you seem to enjoy that. Danny, you're on with Ron McGill. Go ahead, Danny.
Hey, Ron. I live in Miami, and my friend's always making jokes about running over ducks because he says they're just disease-carrying invasive species who serve no purpose in our ecosystem. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I heard the part about disease-carrying invasive species that serve no purpose. What was the initial part of the question?
Ducks. Do ducks serve a purpose?
Yeah, ducks, of course, serve a purpose. I mean, they're food for other animals. Other animals eat them, and ducks sometimes can help spread seeds to help plant different things, depending on what they eat, and, eliminate some of the algae in certain areas. So every animal has a purpose. Whether that purpose is more than the detriment that it provides to the environment is what the question is, and you never know whether the duck's detrimental effect on the environment is more important than any benefit it provides.
Ron, you all recently had to euthanize one of your oldest primates, who I think had been at the zoo since the early 80s. What goes into that decision-making process?
It's a very difficult decision, Greg, and it's one of those things where, quite honestly, I think it's an act of love. It really is, because we're with an animal. We promise to care for that animal, provide it a good quality of life. And at the risk of getting into a controversial subject, I wish I could do that for me. I wish I could put in my will that, listen, if I get to a point where there's no hope for improving the quality of life, I don't want to exist. I'd love to go peacefully and with dignity. And that's what we did with this animal. She was the second oldest given in the entire country. And the bottom line is she'd already set many records. She had gotten to a point where she could no longer enjoy a quality of life. There was no hope for any improvement. It was just going to be progressively worse, to the point where, that's not what life is about. We put her to sleep with dignity. She was relaxed. She just closed her eyes. And, I wish that, for the grace of God, that's the way I could go when the time comes.
Ron, does anything about horse racing bother you?
Yes, in a sense that the overwhelming majority of those horses that don't become successful sometimes end up just being put out to pasture, and not in a positive way. There's too many thoroughbreds today that are unwanted animals, that are neglected animals, that because they didn't win races, that all of a sudden they're just cast off. I don't believe in that. I believe that we should have a commitment to animals. That I don't have a problem with them running, but the problem is now that you hear about things, about drugs, about enhancement things. It's almost like athletes now, giving them steroids and things like that. And it's getting to the point where this type of competition for the money is starting to supersede the caring for the animal and the well-being of the animal.
Ron, we will talk to you next week. No video this week because Ron is on the move. We will talk to you next week, sir.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Don Batard.
Have you guys heard this story? Bas Rutten fighting a dog?
Well, I've never heard of Bas Rutten, so.
Bas Rutten's been on the show, Stugotz. The idea that you've never heard of him, he's been on the show several times.
Stugotz.
Is that B-O-Z?
It's B-A-S.
Yes.
B-A-S. All right. I was, because there's Boz Skaggs.
Boy, you guys are dragging this thing right into the quicksand.
Well, why are you pronouncing it Boz, though?
Right.
Probably like Baz or something.
Exactly.
Bass.
B-A-S, right?
Bas Rutten.
Boz would connote a Z, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like a Scandinavian name.
Yeah, like Boz, like Bosworth.
Bas Rutten.
B-O-Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
Something about a dog?
What's the dog's name?
Speedy.
Speedy Rutten.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
It's the two of you. Like the amount of incompetence they're pulling.
What happened?
They're pulling things out of the garbage can. We're on the air, Greg. We've been. Oh, for the love of God.
Seriously, I didn't think we were. Sorry.
2 minutes. Get out of here. We were going to do Back in My Day, but just leave.
All right.
If you missed any of the show.
Hold on a second, Stugotz. Christ!
Tone.
You allowed to say Christ on the air?
By the way, Stugotz, there is an IOU on top of the fine bucket for $16.
$16. Take care of it today.
What?
See if I have money. Nope. Tomorrow.
Roy saw it, $18.
Whoa! Dan.
Roy saw your money.
Getting carried away. Tone, too.
$18. Man, I can't be blamed for that.
You're right.
Cody doesn't know I'm on the air, and you're searching for what you're supposed to read, smelling like chicken wings through the garbage can, and you're pulling out crumpled papers. I can't be blamed for that.
You're right. I'll take back my fine. You take back mine?
$18.
Wow. If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show on demand in the ESPN app, plus our Miami-only hour that airs before the show. And now you can subscribe to our Best of podcast. It's all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by new Post-it Extreme Notes. Communicating in tough conditions just got easier.
Mike, let's spin the fake wheel here. Here's what's on the fake wheel. We've got Nick Nurse is on the fake wheel. We've got Rodman sound. We've got World Cup. We've got LeBron stuff. We've got Kawhi Leonard, and we've got Cobra Kai. So go ahead and spin the wheel. Spin it now. What did it land on over there, Stugotz? I can't see from over here.
Ooh, Cobra Kai. Yeah.
This show is incredible.
Yes.
Yes, it's a show, Billy. It is a show that picks up in the present day, and you visit with the lives of Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka, and you pick up with those characters to the present day, 30 years after the events of the original Karate Kid. You see how their lives turned out, where they are, and guess what? They cross paths, and the beef is so on. It is great nostalgia. Now, the acting is lacking a little bit,
right?
But you accept that. It's fine. The nostalgia outweighs that. It's actually really well written, and the storyline that they're telling in the first season, without giving away too much, is really compelling. And what I like most about this, and this is not giving it away, you know how in the Karate Kid movies you hated Johnny Lawrence and you were pulling for Ralph Macchio?
Don't tell me.
Tables have turned.
No way.
You are pulling for the Cobra Kai.
No way.
Yes. You are pulling for Cobra Kai because the LaRussos are evil in this show.
Wow.
They are the bad guys.
Wow.
You understand where they're coming from? Because Johnny Lawrence made Danny's life so terrible. But he needs to mature and be the bigger man, and he is not.
I've had enough people whom I trust, Mike Ryan's the only one, and everyone on Twitter tell me this show is amazing. So therefore, and I love Karate Kid. And by the way, the acting in the original Karate Kid wasn't good as well, so it's no shock that it's bad now. But I'm going to watch this thing. I don't know how to access it. I don't know where to watch it, but I'm going to watch this thing.
It's a YouTube Premium series.
I'm there.
And Billy Zabka, while not being the greatest actor, at least initially, his comedic timing is so good, and he plays the role so awesome. Because
there's no way Stugotz is going to do the things necessary to get a YouTube Premium channel. If it requires anything more than a click.
Does it require pay?
If it's anything beyond a single click, there's no way Stugotz is doing it.
What I love most about it is Johnny Lawrence is obviously a bully, an 80s movie bully, and he's trying to employ the same tactics on teenagers today. And he's saying all the wrong, politically incorrect things that you can say, but they somehow toe the line and get away with it through charm and writing.
All right, let's spin the wheel again here for Greg Cote, which is how I meant to do this before he was so incompetent that we sent him away. For all of you complaining that I need to relax and settle down, just understand that Tuesdays they're undefeated. They've never lost.
Thank you. Real quickly, 1 month free trial YouTube Premium right now. So I'm gonna do that. Fill it just a couple of clicks away. Do it and then cancel it. Right before the month is up. How about that?
Cody, on the wheel is LeBron stuff, World Cup, Kawhi, some Rodman sound that we finally got cleared, Nick Nurse, the new Raptors coach, and Cobra Kai, which has already been covered. Did it land on Cobra Kai again? What did it land on?
I'm a World Cup guy.
Okay, so it landed on the World Cup?
Did it land on the World Cup?
I don't know. I have no idea. Where is it? What am I looking at?
It's disoriented, man.
Where's the wheel?
That's 2 minutes in the
I don't look at the wheel. Somebody else looks at the wheel and tells me.
Greg, for years, it's been a fake-ass wheel. There's not a wheel. For years, for the love of God, just go to commercial, man.
There was a wheel.
2 minutes to the therapy couch.
It
2 minutes
like a
to
wheel.
the therapy couch. Get out of here. Therapy couch, which is the same place that the... Yes, it did sound like a wheel. Yes, this is theater of the mind. You not only ruined the whole bit, you ruined the people out there who think there's an actual wheel. You made me explain it to them so that I could explain to everyone just how idiotic you were being.
There's not a wheel?
Don Batard.
Anybody remember the late 60s singer Oliver? He had a couple of hits, including Good Morning, Starshine. That guy, he is the brother of ACC Commissioner John Swofford.
Stugotz.
Now who didn't contribute?
No, you saved the show.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So we got to get to a back in my day. We got to get to World Cup stuff. We got to get to this Rodman North Korea sound. He's going to be Time Man of the Year. But first, the texture writes in, did Guillermo steal Dan's girl? Lay off Guille, bro. Estás de madre, like a mean teacher who has it in for one of their students. Guillermo is the most underrated talent on your show.
You don't get the show.
Guillermo exists to bother me. In order for that character to work, I need to get bothered. And yes, Stugotz, you all do. That's right. Yes,
you heard that,
yes,
huh?
Yes, you all do. That's what Tuesdays are. The Tuesdays are, I'm trying to work here.
Kids are running around.
That's right. And the mischievous 9-year-old who's 45 and tells lies is running around. And the doddering grandfather who can't be trusted with anything, not even to put his headsets on or take care of his damn cough, or make sure that we don't hear the cough. And Guillermo's right in there. He jumps right behind them because it's an easy follow because he knows.
Silver lining to everything in life, Dr. McGillicuddy. And in this case, Dan's tirades against me are really under my skin at this point. But the benefit, the plus to all this is that I never feel thinner than when I'm lying prone in the manner that I am right now, because my natural beer gut somehow flattens. And it really, my self-esteem is burgeoning at this point, because even though I'm depressed by Dan's behavior against me and his constant belittling tirades, physically I feel good. It's probably the next best thing to being in a coffin, in the sense that I'm prone, I look thin, I feel great, quite frankly. I'm over my cough, and it's all good. So again, I try to see the positivity in everything.
All right, we'll check back in with his therapy session with Dr. McGillicuddy whenever it is that it's most shameful to him. Is anyone wondering, though, Stugotz, as LeBron, is about to hijack free agency, wouldn't Kawhi be trying to build a super team from where he's sitting as well? Not necessarily with the Spurs, but just wouldn't Kawhi absolutely be thinking in the same terms? If LeBron can't do it by himself, why should I stay in San Antonio and try to do it with LaMarcus?
Absolutely.
Like, can't I do better than that?
Yes, but you're saying in San Antonio or elsewhere?
Elsewhere, or just wherever. Like, he's under contract, but the idea that Kawhi wouldn't be thinking in the same ways that Paul George and LeBron and everyone else would have to think, where we've got to build something bigger than that.
Yes, I'm sure. Listen, I'm certain Kawhi's thinking about that. He knows he can't beat that team by himself, because you're right, LeBron can't do it. Even though a lot of people will say, hey, Spurs were up big, Kawhi got hurt, and then then the Spurs lost that series. But I think we have the perfect landing spot for LeBron James. I think that we do. Been discussing this with the guys here. And we think that it's Oklahoma City. And now here's what I think LeBron's going to do. Because KD left there.
I get what you're saying. I'm trying to process it. Believe me, I'm just a man. I'm trying to give up some of my vices. I've cut down on several already. My wife wants me to quit cigar smoking. What I've done is I've tried to smoke less than I do by smoking 2 cigars simultaneously, which allows me to smoke the same amount but spend half the time smoking. So I'm telling my wife I am cutting down, but she came into the garage the other night and caught me smoking 2 cigars at once in a giant cloud of acrid smoke, and it did not go well. And these are the stresses I'm under right now. I come to the radio show.
And he's looking for that validation. He's still looking for that validation. I told you yesterday, he can fish all he wants, but as long as he's wearing a Golden State jersey, he's never going to catch the validation fish. And so what I think LeBron should do, because it would be the greatest move in the history of free agency.
You had KD fishing for the validation.
That's who I'm talking about, KD. I mean, you got to listen. You got to stay with the conversations here, okay? I know it's confusing. I'm talking about KD. So what LeBron does in an effort to get KD away from Golden State is he calls him and he says, listen, when I went home and won 1 for Cleveland, I won 2 with Miami. The one I won for Cleveland felt like 5. It validated everything. You need to go home, back to Oklahoma City. You left that city high and dry. You left Russ. I'm going to go back with you.
Some calming hobbies that I can do to relieve the stress from me, because, I'm under a lot of stress job-wise. Tuesdays have become very stressful because of Dan's tyranny, and so what I've done recently is I've taken up hot air ballooning, which is it's an expensive hobby, but I find it very calming. And it can be harrowing, but at the same time, it's something that I really enjoy. It's a colorful sport. I picnic up there. I'm
you
alone.
and we're going to go and win championships together at the place you couldn't win the championship, because the reason you don't have this validation is you left the team and joined the team because you couldn't beat them by yourself. So you left Oklahoma City. So I'm going to go back to Oklahoma City with you. Me, you, Russell Westbrook. We're going to tell Carmelo.
Carpentry, which was my dad's avocation, in homage to my father. I've taken up carpentry, and my latest project is I'm building a Ticonderoga wagon, just like they used in the Wild West when you hear the phrase circling the wagons. And that's what I've begun to build. And it's just so gratifying. I'm doing it piece by piece, and I'm building it out of real wood, not balsa wood, so that when it's done, I will be able to drive down the street where I live in I
changed the math. So this validation fish that you're fishing for, I'm going to help you find it, okay? You go back to Oklahoma City. You leave Golden State. It is me. It is you. It is Russell Westbrook. We tell Carmelo we're going to do this elsewhere in an effort to get him to opt out. He doesn't know. That's a secret between us. He opts out. We bring in Kawhi. And that's the deal. So all of a sudden we have this super team that is LeBron, Durant, Westbrook, Kawhi. KD goes back to Oklahoma City, and he finds that validation fish.
What's really annoying to me is that a lot of people mistake a wagon for a stagecoach. They're two totally different things. And I do not preclude the idea that someday I may build a stagecoach, but right now it's a Ticonderoga wagon, and please do not mistake that, because it's a bleeping insult to those of us who build wagons.
So the key to this really is to trick Carmelo Anthony, which I think is going to be easy. Just LeBron calls Carmelo, says, listen, we're doing this thing down in Miami. It's the Banana Boat team. It's me, you, Chris, Wade. Wade's in on it because he doesn't care about Carmelo. He only cares about LeBron James and that relationship. So they trick Carmelo into opting out of his deal. Therefore, we now have a super team of Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Russell Westbrook. KD going home to OKC.
You know, we can't get enough of this situation where I'm trying to develop what amounts to thick skin against all of the stresses in my life. McGillicuddy, you haven't walked in my shoes. Believe me, it's tough being.
Now, here's a little wrinkle to this plan, okay? LeBron is really just trying to get KD to leave Golden State.
Seriously, I've got stresses at work. I've got stresses at home. You know, I'm trying to be the grand.
So he's really just trying to get KD to leave Golden State. And so what he does is they're both going to sign their contracts together.
No wonder I'm smoking 2 cigars at a time. I've also tried drinking 2 bottles of beer at a time, but I keep spilling it on myself.
City, and what I'm telling you is, okay, LeBron's not going to sign the contract, okay? He's
There's
not.
also this aspect of, you know, what's next for me. I mean, I'm at that age where I have to consider retirement. You know, I have a family.
KD thinks he's going to sign the contract, but he's not going to sign the contract.
I'm under a lot of stress. You have to understand that. And then
to put pen to paper, and LeBron's never going to put his pen on the
cards
actual,
all over me. It's like ridiculous. I'm going to sue his ass. I'll tell you.
Piece of paper. KD he gets.
You know,
KD,
because it's stressful. My blood pressure's
away from Golden State. LeBron forms the super
team. Ridiculous. I weigh 400 pounds.
I'm in Miami, and he's reunited with Pat Riley.
It's just ridiculous, and it's.
And how about that? Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul in Miami.
It was moving too fast for even you. Like, if the joke was built around you, and it was moving too fast for you.
That's what's happening, though, man. It's a great plan, right? And then all of a sudden, Russ is stuck with KD again.
What happened, Guillermo? What happened?
I thought they were going to Oklahoma City. How did they end up in Miami?
He lost track of... He doesn't know what happened there.
Oh, that's stage 2.
You guys were just disorienting him with sound. You're driving your car into the ground. Let the people at Advance Auto Parts tell you how to take care.
You know, the stagecoach thing is such that people have approached me about creating a museum of homemade stagecoaches because I don't think there is such a thing in the country. So that's a project I'm working on right now. I'm a guy who needs
Advance Auto Parts. Tell them, Stugotz.
Bill was right. You know what? They stay in Oklahoma City. They don't go to Miami. They stay in Oklahoma City. But somehow we have to get KD to not sign that deal because LeBron wants to win the championship for Oklahoma City that KD was never able to win. So it's KD, it's LeBron, Westbrook, Kawhi,
Stugotz,
and Carmelo.
You botched the whole thing.
In OKC.
Just read the live spot. You put them in Oklahoma City and Miami. Like, just
You can listen to the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio, and you can watch on ESPN News.